Hi, it's Amy from Click Roll Boom, and today I'll be speaking to Dan and Jim from Sludge Metal legends Raging. So let's assume that people have lived under a rock for the last 3 decades. Who are Raging Speedhorn?
Jim?
Who are Raging Speedhorn? I mean, we formed in '97. 2 bands came together in Corby, basically. Bored people got together, 2 bands joined, became Raging Speedhorn, quickly got signed,
6
travelled the
bands.
world, did insane, crazy stuff all through the 2000s, went on hiatus, came back in 2014, and many member rotations later, here we are.
So
Still a bunch of idiots.
So Speedhorn sound has always had a raw, no-frills sort of aggression. Has that been a conscious effort, or is that just how it comes out?
Just how it comes out, I guess. Yeah, we don't really try to do anything. Just write what we like, and that's what happens. It's got to have some meat though, hasn't it, and some riffs. You've got to have
meat.
Riffs and meat.
Meat and taters and a bit of gravy.
Yeah,
got that. Then it just. But no, there's never a conscious anything about writing or the sound. And I've been saying this today in a few interviews. It's no matter what we write, no matter what tangent we go off on, it always ends up sounding close.
Yeah. Is it the music you love though? If you're listening to music, is this the sort of music you'd listen to?
No.
No.
No, I do love Speedhorn. I mean, obviously, I was, I've come in it in the last 8 years, but I love Speedhorn from day one. So yeah, I've got very select few bands I listen to. Speedhorn's one of them. Pantera, Willhaven, Meshuggah. But apart from that, it's more like Public Enemy, Beastie Boys, Communal.
Oh, wow. Big difference.
Wham. All the 80s stuff. The bangers.
Obviously, we all do listen to the likes of Crowbar, Riot Gods, Pantera, whoever. But I think we're all, and that's the great thing about the band, is we've all got a massive expansive musical taste. So we're not just into metal. Good music is good music.
Yes, definitely. So you just touched on the fact that you joined 8 years ago. So you both came to the band later on. How did it feel joining an established band with a massive history?
You go first, Jim.
Well, I mean, I was kind of around the band, not from the very beginning, but almost the beginning anyway. And I toured with them extensively. The band I was in, one Charger. So I kind of knew them. I knew them anyway. And I was always a fan of the band in the sense that whenever we played with Speedhorn, hung out with them, I always got on with them. Gigging with them was always wicked because you're always pushing yourself to do better to see if they could sort of level, So every night on tour, you'd be, let's really push it tonight, and you'd work your ass off to make it as good a show as you could, just to say to them, right, follow that. And then they'd come out and smash it, and it was like, it'd get exhausting sometimes. But so kind of knowing them for that long, it was still amazing joining. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, but it was kind of like coming home. I already knew guys, but then they were friends. Gordon and Frank are 2 of my oldest and best friends. So yeah, it was kind of like coming home for me, really weirdly.
So it's easy to join a band that you've been friends with and that you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it's always worked, I think, as well. It's always been friends or people that we've known, who we've asked in to help out, and then they've ended up joining. Daniel?
Yeah, I think for me it was kind of similar. I mean, in my first band back in 99, 2000, we did the first tour with them, and we just got on really well. It blew me away. I was a bit of a fan for quite a while. And then, of course, when they reformed with Frank and John back in it and the lovely Jim, I was like, well excited again because it was Frank and John back again, which were 2 big influences on my vocal styles. So yeah, and then obviously a couple of them, they couldn't make shows and they just asked me to fill in for some reason. I don't know why they asked me, but I couldn't say no. I had other gigs on with my other band, but I managed to get a stand-in singer because it was just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Split with my other band, said I'd never be in a band again. And then they asked me to join. So I was like, why not? So yeah, and yeah, just knew them all from the past, good mates, bumping some on the road all the time, and yeah, it was a no-brainer. It was like, I'll have one more go and, at creating something, and then that's it. But yeah, it's just we all kind of know each other from the rounds over the years, I guess. So it wasn't an hard thing. I was just a bit worried about stepping into John's shoes because he was quite an iconic big vocalist name.
Yes, definitely.
But I think with helping him out a bit, people could see what I could do.
Yeah.
And the response was a bit overwhelming, actually. I was quite shocked because I thought I was going to get bottled and booed. But
it's kind of hard, I imagine, going in to a singer role. You know, if you're a bassist or a guitarist, you can almost blend a bit more, but you're obviously the front man.
Yeah, and like John and Frank themselves, I think were very sort of well-known vocalist team, and they both had their own styles, and I think it was quite scary. Taking over from John, because I looked up to both of them as a vocalist, so to actually take over one of them was a bit of a scary prospect, but I was really shocked by the response, to be honest.
You've nailed it.
Yeah. Don't know how.
So your gigs are notoriously carnage. What's the wildest Speedhorn show you've played?
How many hours we got? I've only been in it a few years.
Oh my lord.
Jim, go on, you must know more than that.
Catch that. Could you try again?
No.
I mean, the Nottingham show's the one that's springing to mind at the moment. I don't really want to go there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, that involved fire extinguishers and cymbals being launched. And
swimming in an inch of gin backstage.
yeah, and a certain singer being taken off in an ambulance after falling off the stage and smashing his head open, only to return and then be dragged off by the sound man. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the one I'd pick just because it's still there haunting me. But there's been many other wondrous evenings of entertainment.
It's that style of music, it brings chaos, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the adrenaline, everything, it just all adds up.
There was one particular one I remember as well where on the way down to the gig, I think it was in Portsmouth. I mean, I was that bad that I don't even remember where it was. Someone had slipped me something on the way down. So by the time we got there, I didn't know who I was, where I was, and I was. We sound checked, and I turned around and I was like, "That sounded wicked," and the rest of the band just stared at me. You weren't even playing the same song as us. So there's been many stories.
So the UK has solid metal scene, but you've got definite aspects of like hardcore punk within your sound. Have you ever felt like outsiders within the scene?
I think that comes from us, because I don't think the band has ever written for anything. It's not had a genre in mind. It's not had a sound in mind. It's just written for Speedhorn. And everything we do is for us, for Speedhorn. We don't try and compare. We don't try and steal anything from other bands as such. Yeah. We just do our thing. So in that sense, we kind of made ourselves outsiders, I guess. We're not. But we get on with everyone who's nice to us. Yeah. But we do our thing.
I suppose it's nice though, because you don't want to fit in. Oh, they sound like this band, or they're like this band, or whatever. You want to carve your own niche. I suppose with that in mind, if you were to write a song that was completely off genre for anything you've done before, if it fit and you felt it, you'd just make it. If it was, I don't know, an indie rock song, if that felt right, then you'd do it. Maybe.
I've been trying for years to get that indie rock number in there.
The Christmas song still ain't got us.
Oh, right.
We still got it right.
I said the other day I want a horn section on the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, great, that would.
Yeah, I mean, the last album had violins on it and everything. This one's got keyboards and acoustic guitars and stuff. So, things. And you can't quite hear them because we're shouting over it, but playing noisy guitars. But yeah, it's all in there. and I think we are progressing a little. We always do, but
Yeah.
from an outsider, I think Speedhorn definitely has its own sound. And then when I came into the writing process itself, it's like it just happens. It isn't something you try to happen, or let's write a song that sounds like Speedhorn.
There's not much like Speedhorn, is there?
No, it just seems to happen, and it doesn't. You can't seem to not make it happen either. It's weird. Yeah, it's odd, but good.
Lyrically, your songs are like a punch in the face. Do they come from personal experience, or is it just general rage?
I think a lot of Hard to Kill, because I wasn't when I joined on Hard to Kill, it was basically when they rung me up and said, "Do you want to join?" I was like, "Yeah, okay." They're like, "You're in the studio next week. Write your lyrics. We'll send it." Frank had already wrote the majority of it.
Yeah.
And I think it was a very personal album for Frank, that one.
Yeah.
A lot of the songs on there are about a lot of things he went through in the few years before. And then, like, I don't know, when we got together, it's like I'd just come up with a bunch of stuff and Frank would rearrange it, and he'd have these ideas in his head, and he'd sort of set it all out. So yeah, it was very I think a lot of it's quite personal, but especially to Frank, he knows what he wants when he's doing the lyrics. And but saying that, it worked well together. But
I mean, just reiterate what Dan said. It's a lot of the lyrics. I hear elements of real life and sort of everything from the idiot down the pub who does your head into, I don't know, a fight you saw or something you might have been involved in. Or it's life experience generally that feeds into it, and then maybe you go off on a tangent, think about goblins or something. But yeah, and certainly the guitar. I mean, for me, playing heavy, any kind of heavy guitar is you put a lot of emotion into it. Compared to, it's weird because you'd think playing sort of a classical guitar or a really quiet acoustic piece, you'd put more emotion in. But I find you get more out. Certainly when I'm playing live through playing a heavy guitar, it just allows you to.
I suppose it's emotion, adrenaline, and everything going on. Almost takes over your soul.
Yeah.
I think we all look forward to getting together as well.
Yeah.
We do, because we have life, and we don't rehearse all the time. We just like rehearse once every blue moon, usually before a tour, or if we've got a write. And so when we get together, it's like, because we live all miles from each other, it's kind of like we just get together. It's like this thing that happens, and I think that really helps. I think if we rehearsed all the time, or hung out all the time, it wouldn't be as
definitely
conversational.
So there's a lot of you, isn't there? There's 6 of you. There's a lot.
Yeah, 6, and quite a few that have lost the way.
Yeah.
Loads of younger bands are like tapping into the hardcore sludge crossover at the moment. Are there any of the newer bands that remind you of yourselves?
That's an interesting one. I mean, it's kind of difficult for me because I don't really listen to a lot of new music, to be honest.
Exactly what I do.
So, I mean, I do hear elements of not necessarily just Speedhorn, but this kind of music in the sort of what people would call sludge, if you like, because they don't really know what else to call it. So essentially, anything that came out of nowhere or moved on from that. Bands like, for instance, a band called Harriet, who I really love to a certain extent because their riffs are kind of key to the music, and we're obviously a very riff-led band. The songs have to have a riff. We don't do any songs where there's sort of just jingly jangly or straight. So there's always a riff element involved. I'm trying to think of what others. There's bands like Static Dress, for instance, who a local lad Sam plays drums for, who again riffs. But I don't know. I think this new breed of bands that are coming have taken us old timers and done their own thing with it.
Yeah.
So in many ways, the influence is hidden, or you don't see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
when you meet them and speak to them, they'll say, we're totally influenced or whatever.
Yeah.
But they've managed to make it their own and come up with something new, which is pretty
Yeah.
amazing, really, considering all the
Yeah.
years that have gone by playing this kind of music.
Yeah, and we got press for a band the other day, Nox Pulso, who was citing
Right.
they're an electronica type metal band, and they were citing you guys as one of their influences, and like their sound, you can see elements of it in there, but it's not in your face in there. It's like it's like if you lot were on acid or something.
Oh God! Well, if you're offering.
Yeah, no, it is weird because when you are on the road and you bump into all these bands, it's amazing how many people go on about, oh yeah, we're well influenced by you, but you don't particularly hear it. But yeah, it is quite amazing. Yeah.
Your new album, Nightwolf, that comes out next month. What can we expect? Any notable changes from previous albums?
Ooh.
I think there's always the classic Speedhorn riff in there. I think like Every Night, the last single, it's very Speedhorn. There's another few songs that are like that. We have maybe pushed a little bit on certain things. We did a David Bowie cover a couple of years ago for a compilation. And I think it opened up our eyes a little bit to maybe just, it's cool to do that, and it doesn't sound rubbish, and it still sticks with our whole aura of what we are. So I think elements of that have come into it. I'd say, if anything, and like Hard to Kill, I mean, Jim might correct me here, I think we've gone a bit. It's got a bit more rockier, rollier element in it, I think, where it's a bit more that fun rock and roll stuff rather than, just trying to be low one note, long 14-minute tunes. You know what I mean? It's more just about the swing, the riff, and enjoying yourself.
Would you say it's more accessible to like the mainstream rock listener than maybe previous albums have been?
Possibly. I mean, there's a noticeable. There's a noticeable, I think, for me, for my ears, change in the vocal, in the sense that some of the vocals are less extreme as they've been before. Would you agree, Dan?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely we're coming in hard and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in that element, there's, because of the way we've just added to the arsenal of things we can do in the studio. We've added layers within the music that maybe makes it sound a little less abrasive, so maybe would be more open to other people's ears that might say, "Oh, it's bloody noise, that is."
It's still got the heaviness, hasn't it? It's still got speed on heaviness, but I would say
it's still speed on.
It's accessible.
Yeah,
a bit more. Yeah.
So it's releasing on pink, hot pink vinyl. Was that your choice? Was that the band's choice?
Yeah. Love pink.
Absolutely.
I've got a pink leotard for when we go on tour.
Fantastic.
Pink guitar.
Is that to match with the album's artwork, or?
Yeah.
I
haven't really.
I mean, fluorescent pink. What's more 80s than fluorescent pink?
Fantastic. I had to pre-order a copy.
I mean, honestly, it's. I was kind of alluding to this earlier. With all of our records, the songs, but then what brings it together as a concept is usually the artwork.
Yeah.
But the artwork's what ties it, because the songs generally are nothing to do with each other. They're all different, separate stories, and the artwork brings it together. And I think for this one, we were just in a headspace of sort of our childhoods of Teen Wolf and wrestling and fluorescent colours, and that's just the headspace we were in when we were recording it, let alone after. So all the ideas we came up with were associated with that. What's more sort of late 80s wrestling, Teen Wolf, than bright fluorescent pink?
There's a lot more fun to that artwork than maybe previous artworks, isn't there? The other artwork's been quite dark, and there's a lot more fun to that one.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think we're a lot more fun guys than we were. Sorry, there's maybe not much room for that joke.
Why would you do that?
So you've done some massive tours over the years. Are there any bands you'd love to get back out on the road with?
Ooh. Well, we did with Biohazard last year. We were looking forward to them coming back because obviously the second album was recorded by Biohazard.
Yeah,
so
been asked back out with the Biohazard boys.
yeah, we got in touch when they were reforming the Gordon because he knows them all well, and they were like, "Yeah, you're coming out with us." So that was great. So yeah, I think I don't know who else.
It'd be nice if they could get us on at Villa Park.
Yeah, yeah.
If anyone's listening,
ring Sharon up. Yeah,
Sharon.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of bands. I guess. I mean, Slipknot. Be nice to go out with them. Because we did years ago, obviously, or they did before I was in.
Yeah, I think a lot of the bands that me personally would like to go out with are basically bands that we're either mates with or been out with before. And it'd be nice to survey where we are now compared to where we were then.
Yeah.
So, having because most of them are huge, massive, like Slipknot. And other than that, I think from my point of view, we'd like to go out and have bands out with us, like younger bands.
Yeah,
I'd be more excited about that idea because there's a lot of really great young bands out there who maybe would make us old gits up our game a bit. Well, I'm old.
Who's supporting you on your tour?
Kill the Lights.
Yes.
Which is it 2 members from Bullet or ex-members from Bullet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, two ex-members of Bullet, but I think Gordon good mates with them and that. So
cool.
Yeah, they all have their own little circle in Wales down there, don't they? And
yeah. I'm not saying anything.
But yeah, it's nice to take them out.
Yeah. You've been at this for decades. What's the best part of being in Speedhorn?
Being in Speedhorn.
Being in Speedhorn.
I was talking about it the other day because we've had so much to deal with, and we met up for a rehearsal on Saturday, and it's the first one we've had with Jim as well for about 6 months. So it was like getting back together, and within that 6 months, we've all had a lot go on in personal lives and everything. And I think it was a bit daunting going back to practice and rehearsal, but when we got there, it was just like, it was just great. Again, it was just I think the whole thing of being, and I'm like, I don't care about all the stuff, the rumors, the things that happen, the stuff that goes on, whatever. When we're together, it's just really good fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, it can go the other way quite easily, but it's it's usually just I don't know. It's just got this feeling and this movement that just lifts you up a little bit, like musically and being with each other as people.
Yeah. The camaraderie.
I'd pretty much say it's the camaraderie. I mean, for me, I lost my wife last year, so I had to have some time off, and I was kind of dreading getting back with the band, just from the point of view that I've been away for that long. I kind of felt a bit sort of disassociated, even though we were messaging all the time, and I've seen the boys anyway.
Yeah.
But literally the first half an hour of being in that room, it was just a big smile on my face.
Yeah, there's no old bad, is there?
Yeah, no, none at all. And everyone's taking the pee out of each other.
Yeah. I mean, literally,
awesome.
it's very brutal.
Very,
rip
very
out of each other, but it's all.
You have to have extremely thick skin.
Yeah.
So if you don't rehearse very often because you're spread about the country, how does the writing process work? Do you do it over Teams or do it over email, or how does it work?
Just when we rehearse.
Okay.
So I think everybody has their ideas and gets together. When we get together, we'll write something and just bounce off each other, really.
So how long did Nightwolf take to write then, like that?
Yeah.
Good question.
I can't even remember. To be honest, we were on about it this morning. It was through the COVID era. So, you know, Had to Kill came out and we couldn't do much. We couldn't gig.
Yeah.
Couldn't do anything. So, you know, all we could do was get together and rehearse every now and again. So we just started writing before we'd even started playing the Had to Kill stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the actual songs came together in literally a couple of practices in terms of coming together as a structure and a written piece. But even when we hit the studio, we still had a couple of, well, probably 3 or 4 songs of work to do to even finish them to the point where we could play through them. But then that's how we've always worked, and I love it. It's very stressful, as Dan was alluded to when he was asked to join and he was in the studio the next week. It's very stressful, but it's fresh that way because you're not playing the songs over and over and getting bored of them. You're literally almost writing them in the studio.
Writing them as you're laying the track.
Yeah.
And it makes it exciting to you, and it makes you put more in.
Yeah.
So I mean, we did work on songs literally through COVID after Hard to Kill, but it was more putting riffs up on Messenger and stuff. Well, I've got this riff, send it to Messenger, and then eventually we'd revisit it, have a practice, and what riff next? What about this one? And a couple of practices, and we'd got most of the album done. Really.
Yeah, but I think that was like, I mean, we had a good couple of years, didn't we, doing odd rehearsals here and there, and wrote the basis, and then we went in the studio and we realised how much we still had to write, but we did it in the couple of days. Literally, we were in the studio. I mean, but as we were doing vocals, me and Frank, we were literally writing them on the spot, and then Frank would go in, I've got an idea, we'd do it, be like, that's this, but let's change that bit.
Yeah.
Then we need something for you. What about this? Yeah, that'll work. Nice. So yeah.
I suppose it's quite nice because it's quite organic then doing it that way. Not had too much time to overthink it.
I didn't want to say the O word, but but exactly that. Sorry.
But yeah. I mean, you've been in bands before where you just write and you keep writing the same song over and over again, and then when you listen to it afterwards, it's a bit too constructed.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I guess with Speedhorn, you've got the spontaneous.
You wouldn't want it to be constructed and overproduced and perfect, would you? Really, it wouldn't fit.
No, it wouldn't work. I mean, production-wise, it's not so much of a problem. But again, we don't spend weeks and weeks with the producer, and Russ does most of that anyway, because he knows us and he knows how we work. So even when we're recording, he'll go, he'll play it back, and we've already cut a bar out somewhere, and go, that sounds better, doesn't it? We'll have, oh yeah, sounds well wicked. You know what I mean? So
if you go to the shop for 2 hours and come back, you're like, what's this?
I didn't play that.
And lastly, give your new record a shameless plug.
God, you're better with words.
I'm better with words, really.
Yes.
Well, our new record, Nightwolf, will be out for our tour, in time for our tour, the 8th of March. The tour, of course, will go through to the 23rd of March, just to plug that as well, so go buy tickets.
6th of March, Jim.
And if you like your music, sorry?
6th of March.
Yeah, that as well. And if you like music heavy with a large slab of rock and roll and a party element, then check out our new singles from the album, Nightwolf and Every Night's Alright for Fighting, and go buy pre-order our album Nightwolf now.
And watch the videos. For lots of pants sniffing spandex.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much for talking to me. That's been great.
Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Bye.
See you.